asked about this, but this was his response. First, he calls me drunk. Then he walks out to my song. Crawford, whenever you want, I'll teach you how to dance the mariachi in the ring, and Canelo, I'll save you a round after him. Honestly, you walking out to his song, did you not know that that was the song he always walks out to?
To be honest, I never even seen this dude fight. I ain't even gonna lie. You know, I'm not worried about that guy at all. Tell me how much I'm gonna get out of fighting him.
Well, I know Floyd made a lot, obviously, to fight Conor.
He's not nowhere near on the level of Conor McGregor. Let's be real. Stop it. Don't ever compare him to Conor. Conor was here. He's here. Like I said, I don't know this guy. I never seen this guy fight. And I watch a lot of MMA, you know what I mean? Maybe, you know what I mean? I'm slipping. Maybe he's a good fighter, you know what I mean? I don't know. But I honestly never seen this guy fight, for sure. You know, and I've seen Conor McGregor fight a lot of times. Just saying.
What's up, fight fans? Let's talk about one of the biggest one-sided debates that came out this past weekend, but it's been going on for a while now. On the same night, we had Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford in boxing, and over in the UFC, we had Diego Lopes versus Jean Silva at Noche UFC. Now, if you've been on social media, you've seen it. UFC fans immediately jumped in saying, see, this is why UFC is more entertaining than boxing. And I'll be honest, from an entertainment standpoint, the UFC card delivered more excitement start to finish, but that's not the full story. There's way more to this debate than just which one is more fun to watch on a Saturday night. We're talking about fighter pay, global reach, history, fan expectations, and even what people want to see in combat sports in the first place. So let's break it all down. When it comes to the excitement, UFC usually wins. You've got smaller gloves, so knockouts are way more likely. You've got multiple disciplines, striking, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, submissions. That means a fight can end at literally any second. Even in fights that go the distance, you see scrambles, wild exchanges, and there's less room for two guys to just sit back and play chess, although that still happens a lot. That's why UFC fans are always confident in this argument. They know that 9 times out of 10, if you throw a random UFC card, you get violence, chaos, and unpredictability. I mean, take a look at this clip of Dana White that went viral, looking like he was irritated at the boxing fight he was watching.
His Excellency Turki Al Sheikh alongside Dana White, who has made his way inside Allegiant Stadium, Mr. Beast.
But the fact is, he has walked out of UFC fights as well. But here's the thing. Boxing is a totally different sport entirely. It's not supposed to look like MMA, and that's just a fact. Boxing is about rhythm, setups, footwork, feints, defense, counters. It's a sweet science for a reason. That's a term a lot of people use, and it's a legit term. Yes, sometimes it looks slower, sometimes it takes a few rounds to heat up, but the skill on display is something you can only appreciate if you're really interested in what's happening. You have to be interested. Canelo vs. Crawford wasn't some bloody brawl, but it was high-level chess between two masters. Every jab, every slip, every counter punch mattered. Casuals might not find that entertaining, but boxing fans, it's beautiful. And to be honest, I take that back. Casuals do find that entertaining for the most part because it's easy to digest. They know what they're watching. It's not really complicated like the UFC. A casual fan tuning into the UFC and seeing two guys grapple or practicing jiu-jitsu submissions, they don't really understand what they're looking at. If you're being honest, they just don't. And a good example of an entertaining boxing fight that has happened in 2025 was Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn. That was a brawl. And quite frankly, you can only list a few UFC fights that were better than that fight. But I digress. Now let's talk about the fighter pay.
I've heard 100 million.
Probably.
But no one in the UFC's ever made that as a base purse.
Conor McGregor?
100 million. But that was against Floyd in a boxing match. Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
So
this is where UFC fans don't really have a comeback. And I just feel like fans don't understand how much of a backlash this issue really is. Canelo and Crawford both made tens of millions of dollars for that fight. Crawford is walking away with life-changing money. He literally doesn't have to get up from bed anymore with just the pay from that one fight. Compare that to the UFC. I mean, you can't really compare it to the UFC. Most champions in the UFC, unless you're Conor McGregor or John Jones, don't even break 2 million guaranteed. Some champs are making just a few $100,000 for defending their belt. And that's just crazy, man. That's just crazy considering the fact that these guys are putting their life on the line, having life-altering damage, injuries, things like that. They're literally fighting for scraps. I mean, till now, I think the minimum wage in the UFC is still $12,000, which is just, it's disgusting. That's why you see Ilia Topuria calling out Terence Crawford. He knows he gets smoked in a boxing ring. He knows this, but he also knows that that one fight with Crawford will pay him more than 5 UFC title defenses, probably pay him more than his entire career. I mean, just look at the case with Francis Ngannou. The man went from MMA to boxing and made life-changing money, made money in one fight than he did in his entire career. So if the UFC is so much bigger, why are UFC champs begging boxers for paydays? Not the other way around. And let's get this straight. Ilia Topuria is the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the UFC. 2-division champion. This man is literally avoiding his entire division. He doesn't want to fight the #1 contender, Arman Tsarukyan. He's not interested in fighting Justin Gaethje or Paddy Pimblett or anybody. He's literally dismissed everybody. But this man wants to go into boxing and fight Terence Crawford. I mean, he even said if Islam Makhachev beats JDM and comes back to featherweight, he's not interested in giving him a fight. This is the #1 pound-for-pound fighter ducking his division and making delusional statements about boxing. I think that just says a lot. It really does. And if the fighter pay doesn't improve in the UFC, honestly, there won't be any new global stars and people just wouldn't care. At the end of the day, the casual fans matters in a sport. You cannot rely on the hardcore fans. Hardcore fans like me are always gonna watch regardless of what happens. I watch every single fight. I watch every single relevant boxing fight. I'm a fan of both sports, okay? I don't have any dog in this fight. But casual fans need the global stars to be drawn to that sport. And that fighter pay issue in the UFC, it's always going to come back to hunt them. But on the business end, this is just Dana White's business strategy, trying to undercut fighters while making more money. And that's why he keeps getting pressed about it. To this day, Conor McGregor is still the biggest star the UFC has had, and that's just sad. Boxing is still a way bigger global sport, and it's not even close. It's been around for over a century. It's part of culture in the US, the UK, Mexico, Puerto Rico, the Philippines, Africa, East Europe, the Middle East, literally everywhere. UFC is growing fast for sure, don't get me wrong, but it's still young compared to boxing. It's a baby. And when it comes to casual fans, boxing is easier to follow. Most people understand punching. They don't all understand grappling, guard positions, leg kicks, or submissions. That simplicity makes boxing way more accessible worldwide. Now, although there are definitely too many belts in boxing, too many organizations, right? Too many unifications that need to be met, and then they don't even last. So it makes it kind of complicated. But at the end of the day, when you're just watching a fight, knowing who's a champion, that's all you need to know. One of the biggest differences, though, is the violence. UFC is absolutely violent. Blood, elbows, broken bones, knockouts, submissions. It's raw and unfiltered. And while that's exciting for hardcore fans, not everyone wants to see that. Not everyone wants to see that. Boxing is violent too, for sure. But it's cleaner. It's easier to digest. Sponsors, TV networks, and casual viewers feel more comfortable with it. That's a big reason boxing has lasted so long and still thrives on the mainstream stage. A lot of people still see UFC as human cockfighting. I mean, it took a while before it became legal. And it's just not easy on the eyes for regular Joe Smo. Okay, it just isn't. Sometimes I feel like UFC fans are delusional in the type of sports they're in. Like, I'm a hardcore fan. And I acknowledge it's a specific niche. It takes a while for a regular person to understand what they're watching, let alone watch 12 to 6 elbows. Okay? That's just facts. This is probably the strongest argument for the UFC, though. The consistency. And that's what I love. UFC puts on stacked cards almost every weekend. Even if the main event isn't huge, the fights are usually entertaining. And for the most part, until recently, the best fight the best. And that's why it's always entertaining. Although nowadays, the business is interrupting with that. For example, again, Ilya Topuria not wanting to fight Arman Tsarukyan. That's just shameful to me, no matter how you want to slice it. Boxing, on the other hand, it's hit or miss. Sometimes the undercards drag. Honestly speaking, most times the undercards drag just a lot of time between the fights, and now they're making concerts and big fights. Like, bruh, nobody's coming here to watch a concert. We want to watch a fight. All right. Too much analysis in between the fights. Too many interviews in between the fights. Like, bro, we just want to watch the damn fights. Okay. And sometimes the fights just don't live up to the hype. It really doesn't. But here's the key difference, though. When boxing does deliver, bruh, it delivers at a global event level. I mean, take a look at Fury versus Usyk, Fury versus Wilder, Anthony Joshua versus Klitschko, Crawford versus Spence. Bruh, I don't know any UFC fights that are touching any of these ones that I mentioned. And these are just fights that I've mentioned off the dome. Like, UFC fights are not touching these, and that's just a fact. Okay, these are worldwide spectacles that pull in a way more attention than almost any UFC event combined. So UFC wins in consistency, boxing wins on the scale of the biggest moments, and that's always how it's been. Boxing also creates megastars with generational wealth. Canelo, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, Terence Crawford. These are names casuals around the world recognize. UFC has stars too. Conor McGregor, Khabib, John Jones. But the UFC controls branding so tightly that fighters don't get the same individual leverage. The UFC absolutely does not want another Conor McGregor because they have made it very successful in a way where the UFC is the name. The UFC is the brand. People know the UFC more than MMA. You don't hear people say, oh yeah, let's go fight MMA style. No, they say, let's go fight UFC style. And that's how the organization has been able to grow. But the downside to it is people are more drawn to actual stars. People are drawn to individuals. People are drawn to other people more than they are the organization. But at the end of the day, it's a business and it's working for them. But at the same time, it's coming back to bite them. If we're being honest, okay? In boxing, the fighter is the brand. In UFC, the promotion is the brand. So when UFC fans say boxing is boring, what they really mean is I don't appreciate the slower, more tactical style of boxing. And when boxing fans say UFC fighters fight for scraps, they're pointing out the business reality. UFC is more entertaining weekly, but fighters aren't compensated anywhere near what top boxers make. And it's really sad. It seems like UFC fans don't give a damn about that. Shit, the fighters themselves don't even give a damn about that. Like, if a fighter complains about fighter pay, they get ignored, they get backlash, and the next fighter takes the opportunity that they denied. All right? That's just how it happens. They don't do no fighter union. There's no Ali Act. So at the end of the day, UFC is consistently more entertaining, no doubt about it. If you want guaranteed violence and action, UFC is your sport. But boxing is bigger globally, pays fighters way more, and when big fights happen, they're on another level for cultural impact. They just mean so much more. A lot of people who are dismissing Canelo versus Crawford didn't even realize the point of that fight, didn't even realize why that was such a big fight. A lot of UFC fans having this internal debate didn't even understand what they were watching, and that's just a fact. Okay, imagine someone like Ilya Tuporia, going all the way to fight maybe someone like Israel Adesanya. That's how impactful that fight was. But look, not everyone wants to see the blood and chaos every weekend. Or like I said, MMA is a niche sport, and it might be like that for a long time. Some fans want to watch the art of boxing, the timing, the setups, the sweet science. It's just a different sport. So instead of arguing which is better, I think fans should accept that they're different. Like, I've never seen an argument about how, man, the NFL is more entertaining than the NBA or vice versa. You can make that argument, but you don't see NBA fans crying about the NFL and complaining about how NBA is more entertaining. Vice versa. You know why? Because both sports, both organizations are huge. They're paid well, they're compensated, and people understand that it's just different. You can watch both, you can pick which one you want to watch, but trying to compare both is just not realistic, and you're only making an argument that makes you look like you don't understand what you're watching. UFC isn't killing boxing, all right? That's delusional. And boxing isn't going anywhere. They're both thriving in different ways. There's an argument to say boxing has been on a downward spiral a little bit, but on the other hand, someone like Turkey Al-Sheikh, even though he's controversial, has been able to set up fights that we never would have seen. We never would have seen Tyson Fury versus Usyk because Fury was ducking Usyk for a long time. But at the end of the day, we're getting stupid ass matchups like Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis, Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Like, come on, man. But something like Terence Crawford versus Canelo was a dream matchup. It was unrealistic. It was like a what if type thing. But we got the reality. And something that we never thought would happen happened. So there's an argument to both ways. But let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. UFC versus boxing, which is better? Let me know what you disagree with what I said. Let me know what you agree with. And let me know if you actually watch both sports and appreciate the sweet science in both. Don't forget to like the video if you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you want more breakdowns like this, I'll see you guys on the next one.